wee quick introduction, just to say a few things before we get to the interviews or the discussions. Firstly, just to say thanks to Dan for doing the camera work. Also, a massive thank you to the people who I had the interactions with this afternoon. It was a real pleasure and a testament to what I would consider the only, not the only, but obviously my preferred method of interaction. I think that they're hugely beneficial and they're much healthier than some of the other approaches that people may have in trying to engage in topics that would maybe be a wee bit taboo. But again, for me, these were perfect examples and fill me with hope that we can reach a point that, regardless of where we're coming from and the viewpoints that we have, that we can establish a grounds of communication that's amicable, mannered, respectful, and that we can always part ways, enjoying each other's interaction. For me, it's always a joy to get to the root of anybody's reasoning processes, why they believe the things that they believe, why they make the statements that they make. People can believe what they like. Many people do have different views and opinions on any topic. But again, regardless of the topic, for me, we should be able to have an open avenue of communication. We can have these discussions with each other without, the triggered response of having to defend a bias or, attack and defend preconceived notions of each other and, these types of dynamics. So anyway, I don't want to ramble on. I just thought I would put this in here and just show my appreciation to these people for spending the time and engaging with me. And again, we can all achieve this if we can just learn the line of acceptance, and that as long as we're reasoned in our approach, and that's it for me. If we can offer up, even if I find your reasoning processes absurd or flawed in any way, shape or form, at least you have the ability to offer them and offer them in a manner of respect. So, massive thank you. Cheers. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures here, mate. You started, right? Yep. This is to, what is this again? Oh shit.
Tattoo?
Got it. Oh, this is told me as well when I left. Right, that's it. So this is just to question people's reasoning processes. Do you know what I mean by that? Like if I ask you, so if I show you, I want to establish a grounds with you first. So if I show you that image and I ask you, can you tell me if that's a photograph or a painting?
I think it's a photograph.
It's actually a painting, but
yeah.
Like a realistic painting. This one?
Yeah, now I guess a painting.
Painting?
Yeah.
Right, yep. It's a painting again. That one?
Painting.
Painting, yeah. Are you guessing here?
No, I'm a photographer.
You're a photographer,
Yeah.
right? So you know the difference?
Yeah.
Over this one?
I guess that's a painting as well.
Yep, painting, correct.
I guess that's a painting.
Painting.
I mean, it's really hard to tell. Most of them have been paintings. I'm looking for just basically real graininess.
The reason why I'm asking you this is because what I want to ask from you is, would you accept what you see on a screen to be reality? Or would you have to experience it directly in order for you to know?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would just say what they see on the screen is reality.
It's reality.
Yeah, it's extremely hard to know.
Would you think that's a good ground of reasoning? Or do you think it's based on ignorance?
I feel like it's maybe it's deceiving.
Yes.
It's deceiving.
You're a photographer.
Yeah.
Can I ask you then, you know what the horizon is? In photography, regardless of your altitude, if your camera is perfectly levelled,
yeah,
the horizon should intersect the centre of the picture frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless of altitude.
Right.
You understand that?
Yeah,
So you would agree with that?
Yeah.
How would you describe the horizon?
How would I describe the horizon?
Yeah. If I gave you three examples, if I gave you an arc,
yeah,
an inverse arc,
yeah,
or a straight line,
this slight arc, I suppose.
a slight arc.
Yeah.
So you think there's a slight marking on the horizon, the horizontal?
Yeah, I don't
You
think so.
think so? It's never been there, it's never been detected. Where I'm going to go with this, mate, right? So we're looking at these. So I'm going to get to this image and I want you to tell me what you think of this image. Photograph or painting?
Can I zoom a little
Of
bit?
course you can.
I would guess a painting. Photograph.
Photograph?
I don't know, I think so. I mean, it's really hard to tell because, like, it's extremely detailed.
This is the whole purpose of this. And are you aware that there's people...
It's a bit blurry, so...
Are you aware that there's people investigating and asking questions of the shape of the Earth right now?
Yeah.
Are you aware of that?
Are you saying about... Oh, is this related to, like, yeah, okay.
What I'm interviewing people is because there's people asking the question now, what shape is the Earth?
Yeah.
People are doubting that the Earth is a globular, space rock. And I'm one of these people, I doubt that. I don't have a replacement for this.
Yeah.
So I don't make a claim.
But you can...
So what I'm going to ask you is, do you believe the Earth is a globe?
Yeah.
So we're talking about reasoning with each other, man to man.
Yeah.
How could you reason with me as another man and convince me that the Earth was a globe? What would be the thing that you would go to?
Well, I mean, I don't know too much science. I'm more of a writer, but I do know that the ancient Greeks, like when their like early reasoning was that like when a ship goes past a certain part on the horizon, it goes and sits with down.
It seems to go down.
Oh, it does. It
appears to.
I mean, yeah.
So in that, what I'm saying, see, mind that the question I asked you about the horizon, regardless of altitude, if we're at sea level and somebody says a ship goes over a curve there, that's a fixed geometric point on a curved surface then. So as I elevate up, my angle must increase downwards at that point of reference. But as I elevate up, the horizon stays with my eye level and extends further and further beyond. If ships were indeed going over a curve, then it would be a fixed point, and if I elevated from that point, my angle would increase downwards to look at that.
But it does, man. You go up in altitude, and it's a curved surface, and it makes sense that both scenarios you...
If you're standing at the top of a sphere and it curves downwards from your feet, as you elevate up, your angle to the horizon must be increasing downwards.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't. If you remain level with your camera, if you take a photo of the horizon at sea level and you go up 2,000 feet, the horizon's still straight in front of you, it's not below.
I guess so.
So again, and if we're talking about water, physics, real world physics, when I test water seems its level.
Yeah.
When you
test it?
When I test bodies of water,
yeah.
any liquid, it collapses and finds the equilibrium on the surface and it forms a horizontal plane of surface.
Yeah.
I can't demonstrate to you how a body of water can hold convexity upon its surface.
But that's just gravity, really.
So here's the difference. What you're offering me then is an explanation to support the image. Indirect physics, I'm offering a real demonstration of how the substance behaves. Without an explanation, because that's just how it behaves.
Right.
So with the globular Earth model, it always offers an explanation of how these things can be possible without any physical examples. And I base my understanding of reality in physics. What can be demonstrated, what can be directly measured and shown. Would you think that was more sound reasoning?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like you're doing a very good job of being like reasonable, like having like a dialogue. I think a lot of times this conversation is tricky.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
One of the things,
do you think it's so you're
I think the Earth's demonstrably level. Not flat because we have high points, we have low points. But we find high and low.
They're just a disc.
I don't even know that because I've not been to the outer reaches to know the full dimensions. For all I know, it extends to another pond, another area. There could be other worlds.
Why would this is like a bit? You'd be assuming that there'd be like a lot of people buying.
Here's the thing. I was the same as you. When I grew up, I was educated and told about the globular Earth model. So when I was repeating that to my children, was I telling them lies?
Depends if you think you were.
Well, I would only be telling them lies if I was aware that it wasn't true. But I believed it to be true without ever really assessing it. So in that situation, I'm not telling lies, and neither is anybody else. They're repeating what they've been told and educated.
Well, I couldn't think of any reason why they would be like, why? Because then you can start doubting like any department of science you want.
what I'm trying to offer people is, like, regardless of motives, what I'm trying to establish is how do two human beings reason with each other about these things, rather than, you know, enter into fallacious reasoning. I don't want to appeal to consensus or authority or hearsay.
Well, I think there's so many things in everyday life that we just don't know anything about, and we just assume we do. Like, I always thought, like, outlets are very interesting. I don't think, like, you know, anyone walking down this road thoroughly explain how outlets work, or, like, any of that technology. You just take it for granted. So for you to, like, ask these questions.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and I agree. There's people that have expertise in certain fields, but I can understand any kind of mechanical principle, regardless of the field. If there's a practical, physical reference to it, but when it's only language based and conceptual based, it's very difficult for me to grasp that.
But there is math. I mean, like,
of course, but you understand math's a formal science. It's a language. It's not rooted in the natural sciences. So you can make concepts, abstract conceptual, you know, patterns, you know, geometries. You can make assumptions. You can devise stories using mathematics. So mathematics never trumps physics. Physics comes first and foremost. The physical and the examples of the physical. Then we ascribe a language, a descriptor to these things. And when I find that the popular earth offers many explanations but has no physical practical examples to support, I think that's highly dubious. You know? So what I'm trying to establish is just a reasonable mode of discussion with people. Usually when I ask these questions, people say, you're a flat earther. I'm loaded with these responses. What do you think the people that are classed as flat earthers, what's your immediate?
I mean, I just, like, I don't know too many, so I can't speak from, like, my experience of talking. But I'd say that.
Never met any lunatics.
I don't know. I would just question, like, to the extent to which, like, they've researched it. I mean, it's very easy to be misled. So I think that argument goes in any direction, right?
Do you think I'm researched and misled?
Oh, sorry, research.
Do you think I'm well researched?
Do
you think I could be misled? Or do you think this is what I'm saying? Just between
I'm saying either of us can be misled. I mean, it's like.
But can you see the difficulty with two people? Never mind scientific industry. If two people are trying to reason with each other and they're asking the questions, convince me the answer no. It's difficult for you to achieve that. Do you think that's a wee bit strange?
I mean, I think people think I just like take it for granted. I think, and like I like to see that. It's nice that you've done that much research. It's a good conversation. I have to run a tennis tryout.
Sorry, listen, one more question. See if I was coming along here with a megaphone and I was shouting stuff in the megaphone, would you be inclined to speak to me or disregard me?
I would disregard.
This is the
I mean, you're doing a great job. This is like, as a student, I can respect the way that you're approaching it very, like, you know, level-headedly and presenting research and not throwing that much road. Henry.
Dale.
Your name? Daryl?
Dale.
Nice. Oh, Dale. Nice to meet you.
Lovely
Nice to meet you, cameraman as well.
This is Dan. The channel's called Beyond the Imaginary Curve. If it takes your fancy, have a look. You'll see other interviews.
Is that on it's a YouTube channel? Beyond
the Imaginary Curve.
Alright, cool. Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Oh no, you had to download this.
You okay with that?
Is it going anywhere?
It's only on the YouTube. We're not going to take it personally. It's just okay. What it is I'm trying to establish a grounds of reasoning. Do you know what? I don't mean to condescend, but you know what it means to reason with something and offer up your reasons for why you believe things to be true. So I'm just going to show you a couple of these images here just to get your. Don't worry, that's fine. Right. Just have a look at this image here. Oh, no, sorry. Can you tell me if you think that's a photograph or a painting?
I would say it's a
Painting? What makes you think that? Can I ask you what you're a student in?
Accountancy.
Accountancy, right, okay.
I don't know what it is, but there's just like, see like the water drops.
The way the water is.
They don't seem realistic.
Excellent, that's very observant about this one.
See, obviously that one's
A photograph, that's actually a painting as well.
Really?
Yes, hyper-realistic paintings. What about that one?
I think that's a painting.
A painting. Would it be fair then to establish that it's very difficult for you to tell something real by seeing it on a screen? You would agree with that? So I'm going to show you another image, right?
Okay.
We've just established that it's difficult for you to know, right?
Say that's a photo.
A photo?
If that's a painting, that's like.
It's actually not a photograph.
Exactly.
There's no such thing as a photograph of the globular earth from space. They're composite images to tell you this, that they take strands of information, then they put it together, they put it in Photoshop, they add the clouds, and blah blah blah. So what, again, look at that one. Same again, it's hard for you to tell. So you would agree then that based on an image, it's not a solid ground of reasoning for you to accept something as being real then. If I asked you as another human, regardless of appealing consensus or authorities, if I asked you to convince me that the earth was a globe, how would you achieve that? Research. Have you ever researched it? Have you ever researched it? Do you believe it?
Whether the world's round.
Round. Well, it's an honest answer. So you're aware then that it's not because you were told that, it's not because it's something you actually know then. And would it be something that would take your interest if, if I say to you, like, I deny that's reality, would that pique your interest and make you think to yourself, well, maybe I should have a look at this then and establish for myself if it actually is that? Do you think it would be important? If that's not where we were, do you think that would be hugely significant? Yeah. Yeah, do you know that? Well, for me personally, I don't think that's where we are. I think we're on a level surface. I'm not a flat earther because, have you heard the term flat earther? Are you aware that there's a bit of that going on right now? What's your views on that?
I've just always thought that we're round. It's just kind of like...
And you have a trigger. Exactly, that's perfect, that people can investigate. What do you think about people who would chastise somebody like me for investigating that or asking those questions? Choice. And again, it's like I'm trying to establish a method of how you reason. So I go by physics. So do you know what physics? You remember physics in school? What was physics to you? See, the parts of physics that I love was the physical parts, where you actually have physical things and you mess with things and you see how they behave and the forms and blah blah. So when I go to physics and I look at something like water, if I ask you a question, when you fill your bathtub up and it settles, the water settles and it forms a surface on the top of the water, how would you describe the surface? Well, if it settles and it's nice and calm, if you go to swimming baths, it's the same, perfectly calm. If you go to a lake, perfectly calm again. Go to an ocean, perfectly calm. See what I mean about the contradiction in your own reasoning though? Because you've got that image of the globe in your head, and you know for a fact, based on what you can experience, that the water finds its level. If I gave you a rock right now and I says to you, right, pour water on that, I want the water to stay in the rock, you would think that was absolutely absurd. But yet you see that image and you believe that that's the case, although you can't demonstrate it. Do you think that's a wee bit concerning? Slightly concerning. If you've been to the beach, no point in saying again, you've been to the beach, you know what the horizon is. How would you describe the horizon? How would the geometry of it? If I gave you three options and I gave you like an arc, an inverse arc, or a straight line, what one would you pick? That's how it appears to you, doesn't it? Have you ever seen it curving anywhere? Have you ever witnessed any curvature there? Have you ever felt any motion? None of that. You know exactly, because you've never thought about it. And I don't want people to be scared about it because they should be embracing it and thinking to themselves, well, I should take control of my own thoughts, my own beliefs, and make sure that I know before I invest a belief in it, because I think beliefs are ignorant. Would you agree with that? Particularly when they're uninformed.
Yeah.
Like, you believe it's a globe, you don't know why, I would say you're ignorant. But I'm not a condescending and I'm not you're a bad person, it's just because that's how the culture we were born into. I was the same. And I repeated that stuff for the majority of my life until I put my critical thought to it. And then I started to uncover that that's not the case. So anyway, I don't want to keep you, I just wanted to, I really appreciate your honesty. We just spoke to another guy there and he was so genuine as well. It's really nice to get that response. Rather than people with PhD, there has to be conflict with opposing views and different questions. Can I ask you one more question? So I came up here and I had a megaphone in my hand and I was shouting and blah blah. You have spoken to me. What would you think of me?
I don't know.
on the tick.
Oh, I
You don't have to put words in
I
it,
just
but
let you go, don't it? Like, you're just doing
if I had
it.
a megaphone and I come over and I asked you to try and engage with me,
Oh, I'm gonna check. I was just like, yeah, no, sorry.
there would be conflict here.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was your name again?
It was cute.
Keelan Abdel. It was a pleasure and thank you so much for your
No
time.
worries.
Alright,
Thank you.
yeah. Hopefully you look into that and think about it. Take it easy. See you
Bye.
later. Easy. Do you understand what I mean by that? I'm just going to put you through, sorry. So I'm going to show you a couple of photographs, Scott. I want you to tell me if you think the photographs. Sorry. So if I start with this image here, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a photograph or a painting?
No. I think,
Difficult.
yeah, it looks more like a photo, but
Could be a painting.
could be. It's just because it's not the clearest of
There's I know I
photos.
broke the screen. If I go to this one here, the glass bottle,
I'd say that one's a drawing.
a drawing,
Just because of the shading
the shading.
of
That's
the light reflection. I think I can see
very observant. Are you an
Yeah.
art student by any chance?
No,
What
no.
are you studying?
archaeology.
Oh, you're an archaeologist, you'll like this then. Can I ask you again that?
Hard to say because of how blurred it is. I'd say it's a photo, but because it's a model photo, probably it's photoshopped.
Yeah. So, okay, this is what I'm trying to establish on a ground of reasoning. It's very difficult for you to establish something as being objectively true on a screen. You would agree with that?
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you this image here. I don't want to trigger you. It's not anything I've seen or anything.
Okay.
I just want you to give me the same opinion.
It's probably, modeled.
Yep.
I'd say it's a model. You can't get an image this clear of the Earth's surface. Yeah.
Right. So this is like the topic of conversation, and what I'm trying to again establish on grounds of reasoning. Are you aware that there's people questioning this concept of the Earth?
Yeah.
And what do you think of it?
It doesn't make sense to me.
Does it?
It's a weird concept to me, just because the laws of physics, as we understand them,
Yeah.
as pertaining to gravity and magnetism and all those other phenomena related to the Earth, it would make more sense for these phenomena for the Earth to be round.
So would you agree then that that's a language-based descriptor and explanation that's tied to the globular Earth model? What I'm trying to establish, you brought up the term physics there. Now, I love physics, and I believed this implicitly when I was a kid. This is what I was taught, the same as yourself. When I actually go to real world physics, not theoretical language-based physics, and I look for physical demonstrations to support the claims of these things, I have a real issue, I have a real trouble with that. The simplest one I'm going to say to you, right, the very first thing that taught me was the physics of water, right? So when I physically test water, it collapses, it forms an equilibrium, and it forms a free surface, which is described as a horizontal plane. Would you agree with that?
Well,
In a real world test situation, if we were to test the physicality of water, it's been described for as far back as I can trace that the term that seeks its own level, not that it's a conscious entity, just a phrase of words, seeks its own level, defined as a horizontal planar surface.
yes, but I think that's more of an explanation that, is simple, is something that we can perceive and understand. Because obviously when you're testing the water surface, you're not going to have a body of water as big as the ocean. You're going to do it in a tub or something like that. And then yes, water will mold itself to the shape of the container. If you put it into a rectangular container, it's going to form, a flat surface.
And the walls will form the shape of the containment.
Yeah.
But in any case, you need a container.
Yes.
Would you consider a ball to be a container?
Yes.
You would? If I gave you a ball right now and I asked you to demonstrate how oceans behave on a ball, could you achieve that?
Well, a ball doesn't have a core that could exercise the gravitational pull to pull water to it.
So again, when I'm reasoning, right, when I'm asking these questions, I'm based on physical reality.
Yeah.
You can't offer me a physical demonstration, but you can offer me an explanation.
Yes.
The same as a Christian can offer me an explanation of Jesus or blah blah blah. But again, for me, that's a religious explanation. It's not based in real world physics.
Well, again, it's how deep you want to delve into the physics and how much physics you can, understand. There are physics that are. I'm not a physicist. Okay, I don't delve too deeply into physics. However, my mom's an astrophysicist. There are, I've seen a lot of equations. I've seen a lot of things. I can't understand them, but I have good faith.
But astrophysics is based on mathematics.
It's physics. It's physics. It's mathematics. It's everything.
Theoretical physics is based purely on mathematics. You're aware that mathematics is a form of science. It's not a natural science.
Yes,
Physics,
it's
biology.
It's
Yes.
a formalization of things of how we understand the universe. Like back in the conceptions of math, we could have come up with an entirely different system to explain the universe. It will still be, an arbitrary set of symbols that's based on what we understand, as a cumulative understanding of human knowledge. But math is the language we've chosen to express science in.
Yes, and I would agree wholeheartedly. In mathematics, because I'm a mechanic to trade, and in engineering principles, mathematics is a very useful tool. But when the mathematics is ascribed to provable integers, which means it's ascribed to real three-dimensional physical objects, it's a very useful tool. But there's also an offshoot of that, like astrophysics, theoretical physics, where their axioms are more based on real-world physical examples. They're making assumptions about things. So in astrophysics, we see apparent objects in the sky, but they're only visible objects. We don't have access to them in 3 dimensions. So assumptions have to be made. And when you make assumptions, so then you can create mathematical axioms, but then you can create a structure and an explanation and a modelling of what you think is going on.
Knowing how this modeling works, it's not a form of just pure observable mathematics. No one's going to say, because I see that this is perfectly encapsulated in this equation. No, practical physicist, no one that's not a theoretical physicist is going to go, this equation describes, everything conceivable about this. There's a lot of, leeway in phenomena as they actually occur. It's just we're ascribing models to them that are the best, the closest approximation. They're not perfect yet, they might never be, but there are people who are working on finding models that best describe.
Exactly, and if you trace back the ancient civilizations, they had different conceptual models of the universe and the Earth, the majority of which depicted the Earth as a level plane, encapsulated in...
Not necessarily. A good number of past civilization, talking, the conception of the Earth as a flat plate is very, very medieval.
Is this based on your own looking into this subject, or is this based on what you've heard that's been offered to you in regards to people who used to claim that the Earth was a level plane?
Yeah, this is sort of, if you look at paintings and manuscripts showing depictions of the Earth, the whole plate and dome, it's a very medieval idea. It's present also in some old Greek stuff, the idea of Atlas, and although even in the Greek called Atlas carrying the Earth, it's not carrying a flat plate, it's carrying a sphere.
So there's different concepts. The thing that I'm trying to establish is how the two human beings, without appealing to consensus or authorities or any of these things, just two human beings. If I asked you, could you convince me that the Earth was a globe, what would the first thing that you would do to try and convince me that the Earth was a globe? Would it be safe to say that in your direct experience of reality, you don't experience curvature, you don't experience motion of any kind?
No.
You don't experience any of that? So where is your grounds of reasoning then to maintain the belief that the Earth's a globe?
A few things. The old ship on the horizon experiment, where if the Earth were flat and you were looking at a ship on a distant horizon, you should see it small, but you should see the full ship, and as it comes closer, the ship gets larger and larger. However, what happens is when you're looking at a ship far away, because of the Earth's curvature, the first thing you see is the top sail, and as you get closer, not only does it become bigger, you see more and more of the ship, top sail, top mast.
And I'm very familiar with that argument. So if I could offer you up a couple of examples of what you've just said there. If you were to theorise then that a ship in the distance is at the horizon going over a curve, then you would have to agree that that point is a fixed reference point of where it's been obscured. So then if I keep my eye locked onto that position, as I elevate upwards, I must be increasing my angle downwards to look down the slope of the Earth. You would have to agree with that because it's a geometric solid.
Yes, but at
in
the same time,
in reality that doesn't happen.
But it's also because of distance and perception.
Yeah.
Because human depth vision isn't an objective physical measure of anything.
Exactly. And this is the point I was going to get to, because the globular invokes these things, and again, it's not a direct measure, right? Because there's a geometry to your vision that is not accounted for when you make these claims. So if we look along that street right now, you can clearly see that the floor appears to ascend into the centre of your field of view, the top appears to descend into the centre of the field of view, and objects condense and be smaller into that point. So there becomes an angular resolution problem with light. And because things are so close to the ground, they appear to be obscured. The tests have been done with this, and in different conditions and different days, the ship, you would say, isn't over the curve, and another day it's 10 miles further, and another day it's 5 miles closer. So it's not based on physicality, it's based on optics.
Yes, that's something, a person can understand without having to know the physics of curvature and all that. Like sun angles, which make no sense if the Earth is not round.
Assuming, making assumptions on the sun, that would be what the sun is, where it is, its exact position, its composition. All these things are assumptions because nobody can access the sun in 3 dimensions.
You can't access the sun in 3 dimensions, but you can have a clear idea of its composition from spectroscopy.
But spectroscopy makes assumptions again. That's a man-made device.
Everything is a man-made device.
Of course, and I totally agree.
Everything is a man-made device. It's just that these are the best approximations we currently have for anything. And
have you ever heard of Euclid?
Yes.
You know what Euclid was?
Yeah.
So you know what Euclidean geometry is?
Yes, and I know what non-Euclidean geometry is.
So in physical reality, construction, navigation, flight, anything that we utilise Euclidean planar principles, right? Where we use things like trigonometry and these different functions. These are planar. They're non-Euclidean. Spherical geometry is non-Euclidean, but yet in reality, like construction, if you and I were engineers and we wanted to build a bridge a mile long, we know that we're operating on datum lines of a horizontal and a vertical. There's no curve accounted for anywhere. So if the Earth was curving, you'd have to account for that.
Well, not necessarily. The Earth is, it's a large object, right? And the curve is going to be very, very narrow.
Can I tell you it's 8 inches per mile squared?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's when you're building a building, it's not going to be more than a couple of tens, maybe 100 meters in length. If it's a big building. But that doesn't, the topographical change of whatever surface you're on, if it's a hill, if it's a park, because the Earth isn't smooth.
Yeah, of course.
Those things are a more immediate concern to anyone doing construction than the Earth's
a land surveyor will assume flat up to 100 miles, where there should be, massive amounts of drop. A friend of mine works in shipping. He designs and constructs warships. Now, when we spoke about this and we looked into this, we talked about the downward vector, obviously, gravity. Now, when they're constructing like large ships, bridges, any of these things, each section has a parallel downward vector, and that's what they account for. There is no deviation from the parallels. So regardless of the size of the level, the downward vectors are perfect parallels in every section of that. Whereas on a curved surface, you would have to be accounting for non-parallel. There would be a different downward vector for each section, but that's not accounted for either because the datum lines that we use are horizontals and verticals. Look, I don't want us to descend into some sort of because it's been great speaking to you and I really, really appreciate it. I'm only speaking from my point of view and offering up that I'm comprehending my reality and hoping that maybe, so that I know that you maybe have a programmed, skewed perception of flat earthers, sorry for this way. And I'm just hoping to offer that we're not crazy, we're not crackers. Would you consider me to be a reasoned person?
Yes, I would.
Yes.
The thing about this, I think it's a bit of a weird experience and perception thing, because no one alive is going to, no one, with their own senses is going to experience the Earth as spherical, because, as soon as you move, everything in your surrounding is flat relative to you. A human person is not a large object compared to the scale of the Earth.
Well, I mean, I've been campaigning, I've devised a possibility of creating a direct measure and then building and constructing square to that plumb reference all the way across a body of water. And if the Earth was indeed curving, then the curvature drop should be shown across that structure. But people don't really see it, and there's never been a direct measure of the curvature of the Earth. It's conceptualised, we see an image, we blah blah blah. Listen, I don't want to keep any more of your time. I really appreciate it, and hopefully, you've gained something out of this week conversation. I mean, I can keep the conversation going if you want to. If you've got something that you think you could offer me, then I would massively appreciate it.
I've done equations, estimating the curvature of the Earth based on shadow, based on all of that.
Yeah.
But there's no, I can't offer any, build in the moment thing that could measure the curvature, because that's beyond my capabilities to do. I think that's beyond.
So it's a process of reasoning, making an assumption, building on an axiom, and then reasoning your way in order to find things that suit that assumption.
It's less of
because physics doesn't need any of that. Physics makes no assumptions. Physics just demonstrates.
Yeah, but I don't think, when they were first doing the experiments involving sun angling and distance and all of that, they weren't necessarily going out to prove the Earth was spherical. It was just that the explanation for the phenomena as they witnessed it that made most sense was, the Earth has to be spherical, and the Earth isn't completely spherical. It's more of a.
Do you think it could have been wrong?
It's wider at the equator. It's not a perfect sphere because.
Yes. I've heard all this.
Yeah.
All this. The last eye, so Bill Nye, the actor guy. I hear a lot of this. The thing that one real difficulty is establishing things with real physicists. I mean, like direct real world physicists, no astrophysicists. Theoretically. Well,
very much.
They make assumptions. You're having to make it. These are luminaries. We don't know what these things are. You have to make assumptions. You have to make an assumption about where they are and what they actually are. There's no way that an astrophysicist can tell you for a fact that that's what that thing is or that's exactly where it is. Particularly when they're claiming it's billions of miles away and light's coming through our atmosphere and refracting.
That's why they never say, that's where it is right now.